Hello, friends. My name is Daniel Fontenot, and welcome to Jewels of Truth. Today, we will continue our discussion about the Antichrist. So, one of the questions that needs to be addressed is there one Antichrist, or are there many Antichrists? Okay? Not just who the Antichrist is, but how many Antichrists are there? I'm going to be reading parts of a book that I value quite a lot. And the name of this book is Facts of Faith by Christian Edwardson. And in his book, he has a chapter devoted to the subject of the Antichrist. And he says that the name Antichrist is found in only 3 chapters of the Bible. And in every instance, it was emphatically stated that he was already in the world. So we read from 1 John chapter 2, starting at verse 18. Little children, it is the last time. And as ye have heard that Antichrist shall come, even now there are many Antichrists. So he's saying, John the Apostle is saying, by inspiration of the Holy Spirit, that Antichrist shall come, but then he also says there are now many Antichrists, whereby we know that it is the last time. They went out from us, but they were not of us. Now, I'm going to pause there and just for a moment and address that issue right there. They went out from us, but they were not of us. The Catholic Church claims to be the original church, the oldest Christian church. But that's not true. That is simply not true. It is the Catholic Church that went out from us, out from Christianity, from among Christians, because these apostates, were not of us. For if they had been of us, they would not, no doubt, have continued with us. But they went out that they might be made manifest that they were not all of us. But ye have an unction from the Holy One, and ye know all things. But I have not written unto you because ye know not the truth, but because ye know the truth, and no lie is of the truth. Who is a liar? Who is a liar? But he that denieth that Jesus is the Christ. He is Antichrist, that denieth the Father and the Son. Whosoever denieth the Son, the same hath not the Father, but he that acknowledgeth the Son hath the Father also. Now, we'll address verse 21 at a later date. But I certainly do believe, as it says here, that because it says, who is a liar but he that denieth that Jesus is the Christ? Does the Pope deny that Jesus is the Christ? You know, you can say something, you can give lip services to something, but not really believe it. Okay? But there's a lot of meaning in the fact that Jesus is the Christ. But we'll deal with that at a later date. So, the writer of this book, Facts of Faith, continues. How can anyone, in the light of these plain texts, say that the Antichrist here spoken of is not yet come, when the very texts declare that he is here already? These texts also reveal the fact that the apostle did not believe Antichrist to be one individual, but rather an anti-Christian tendency in the church. an organization dominated by the spirit of Antichrist, having a man at its head, so that when he died, another would take his place, and the anti-Christian system would continue. Is this not what the system of the papacy is? You have one pope, and then that pope dies, and then or resigns, in some cases, and then another pope takes his place. There are many antichrists. Thus, there would be many antichrists, as the apostle says, but only one system. And this system had already made such progress before the apostle died that it was about to capture the church. Its leader would not accept the apostle John. One leader forbiddeth them that would, and casteth them out of the church. 3 John verses 9 and 10. This accounts for the warning in John's epistles against these many antichrists. 1 John 2:18. The apostle Paul, during his last journey among the Christians, gathered the elders or bishops and warned them against the coming apostasy of the church. Now, this is an issue that I have long been aware of, and it needs to be made clear, because I'm aware that in many of the churches, particularly the Protestant churches, it is always said that the great apostasy of 2 Thessalonians is yet in the future. Well, to a certain degree, that is true. But in another way, it is not. My problem with that statement of saying that of implying that the great apostasy was in the future, my problem with that is that the fact is that the great apostasy has already happened hundreds of years ago, and the Protestant world have forgotten this. So, let me go back to the writer of this book. He says, the apostle Paul, during his last journey among the churches, gathered the elders or bishops and warned them against the coming apostasy of the church, which was to be brought about by its leaders. Notice, by its leaders. He says, for I know this, that after my departing shall grievous wolves enter in among you, not sparing the flock. Also of your own selves shall men arise, speaking perverse things to draw away disciples after them. And you'll find this in Acts chapter 20, verses 29 and 30. Paul here is strongly warning against the great apostasy, which he later spoke of there in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. Later, the apostle reminded the believers that the day of Christ's return was not then at hand. He says, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself, and of course that's the temple of God is the church, showing himself that he is God. Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things? For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Now later, not today, but later, we will discuss what did the great apostasy consist of? What did the great apostasy look like? And really, the churches, even the Protestant churches, they don't really define that. When they speak of the great apostasy, they don't really define what that great apostasy was or is. These prophecies point out clearly that the elders would draw away the people from the truth of the Bible, to follow men, and that this falling away, which had already begun in Paul's day, would develop until a man would exalt himself to take the place of Christ in the church. Every thoughtful student of Bible prophecy can see that this points unmistakably to the papacy, and it accords exactly with the significance of the name Antichrist. Now, Dr. James Strong, you ever hear of, those of you that are Bible students, have you ever heard of the name James Strong, or the Strong's Bible Concordance? And it has a dictionary, a Hebrew dictionary in it, and it has a Greek dictionary in it. Okay, Dr. James Strong says that Antichrist comes from two Greek words, anti and Christos, and gives the following definition of anti: opposite, i.e., instead or because of, for, in the room of, often used in composition to denote substitution. Thomas Sheldon Green says anti, prep, over against, hence, in correspondence to, in place of. Okay? The meaning, therefore, of Antichrist as it is used in the New Testament is a rival to Christ. A rival to Christ, or one who attempts to take the place of Christ as his vicar. This significance of the prefix anti is also seen in the word anti-pope. For further information on this, see The Papacy is Antichrist by J.A. Wiley. Okay, we shall now see that this is exactly the position which Catholics claim for the Pope, that he holds the place of Christ on earth. Now, any church that says that a man holds the place of Christ on earth, that should be easily understood that this is at the very least, at the very lowest level, not good. Christ has never appointed any man to be the head of the church. But in the Catholic Church, not only is the Pope considered and elected to be the head of the church, but also proclaimed and understood to be infallible. In other words, all of his decisions are like a dictator. Okay, the Pope is a dictator. Now, he doesn't have political power right now as he had during the Dark Ages, but the papacy is seeking to regain that political power, and one day he will. He will gain the power that he had back in the Dark Ages. So, again, we shall now see that this is exactly the position which Catholics claim for the Pope, that he holds the place of Christ on earth. The so-called Reverend T.L. Kincaid says, "Our Holy Father, the Pope, the Bishop of Rome, is the vicar of Christ on earth and the visible head of the church." Vicar, that is, one who holds another's place and acts in his name. The so-called Reverend William Humphrey, he's a Jesuit, says, "A vicar is put in the place of him whom he represents. He is invested with his power. He is furnished with his authority. He personates his principle. The master, by his appointment of a vicar, binds himself to ratify the vicar's acts and to recognize them as his own." And it just goes on and on here, okay? Now, thus it is claimed that the Pope is the vicar of Christ on earth. But Christ left an altogether different vicar. or representative in his place. Who did Christ leave? You know, the Catholics want to say, and they do say, that Christ appointed Peter. And Peter was the first pope, appointed him as the head of the church, as a representative of the church. But who does Christ say is his representative? The Holy Spirit. He shall guide you. He shall teach you all things. John 14, verses 15 to 18, and chapter 16, verse 7. Let's look at John 14. John 14. John chapter 14. Verses 15 to 18. If ye love me, keep my commandments. And I will pray the Father, and he shall give you another Comforter, that he may abide with you forever, even the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, because it seeth him not, neither knoweth him. But ye know him, for he dwelleth with you, and shall be in you. I will not leave you comfortless, I will come to you. Okay? He comes to us through the Holy Spirit. And in chapter 16 and verse 7, nevertheless, I tell you the truth, it is expedient for you that I go away. For if I go not away, the Comforter will not come unto you, but if I depart, I will send him unto you. So the Holy Spirit is the representative of Christ. The Holy Spirit, being the author of the Bible, certainly should be the proper interpreter of it. To this, the Roman Church answers, this is what the Catholic Church says officially about the Holy Spirit being the author and interpreter of the Bible. It says, nor can it be said that being a divinely inspired book, its prime author, the Holy Spirit, will guide the reader to the right meaning. He says, you can't say that. The church which made the Bible likewise interprets the Bible. So the Holy Spirit doesn't have enough power to teach me and to teach you what the Bible means? This is the crux of the matter, dear friends. Does God, who created the entire universe, who created this earth, who created everything you see on it, who created you and I, does the Holy Spirit have the power to teach me and you what the Bible means? Or do we have to lean upon and depend upon the Pope of Rome to tell us what the Bible means? There are even now Catholic officials that are denying obvious truths of the Bible. There is a spirit of Antichrist out there, but there's also the Antichrist, which is the Pope of Rome. Well, we will end this video for now. We will end this discussion for now. And we thank you for joining us here at Jewels of Truth. And if you agree with this presentation, then by all means tap that like button at the bottom of this video. And if you have any comments or questions, by all means post them at the bottom of this video. Thank you for joining us. Have a good day.